Michelle, and welcome to another episode of 10 Minutes with the Ignited Teacher, where I help teachers like you to effectively manage their classrooms and to increase student achievement. In this video, I'm going to show you how to plan for effective transitions inside of your classroom. So when you're starting a new school year, or even if you're taking over a classroom in the middle of the school year, it's imperative that you set your routines and procedures first. And they are not just something that you're going to just jump off and say, oh, I'm going to have this, this, and this. They have to be well planned and well thought out. So I want to first tell you the difference between routines and procedures. Routines are things that you do every day. For example, you come in the morning, you do your do now or your bell ringer. Then after that, you may go to the restroom, then you may have small group instruction. Those are routines. Routines have set times, whereas procedures are how those routines are being carried out. For example, in my classroom at the beginning of the day, my students know to go to the basket, get their warm-ups in the morning, get started, and then we start watching CNN News. So they get their pencils, they know to sit down. That's how our routines are carried out. So routines are what you do every day, those times that you have, and the procedures are basically based on how the teacher wants that routine carried out. Another example is when you have small group instruction, which is an issue for a lot of teachers. A lot of teachers tend to say that the transition, and even administrators, from small group instruction, it takes too long. So you have to have a plan here first for the procedure for transitioning from small group to the next activity, or going to lunch, or to the restroom. So I have with me is my handy dandy classroom procedure planning worksheet. It's something that I created and it's something that I use. I've been teaching 18 years, and that does not even matter because all classrooms are different. Now, I have a standard routine and procedures that I have in my classroom, and sometimes I have to change those out to accommodate the students that I have that year. For example, last year, one of my classrooms, they did not have the same routines and procedures because they needed more tight transitions. And I can give you an example of that. Because they were not as independent as my other two classes, nobody passed out pencils. Nobody got to move. Everything was directed by me. I did most of the movement because that classroom needed more structure. If you have a classroom that has high needs, you're going to have to meet them with high structure and then release them to where they can have more freedom to move about the classroom. But if you have kids with a lot of behavior problems that hit and are doing things during transition, you have to be vigilant and create a highly structured classroom. So we talked about the difference between routines and procedures. So here are my top 6 that I have on my classroom procedure planning worksheet. They are: when the students enter the classroom. How do you want your students to enter the classroom? What are they doing after they enter the classroom? Is their work going to be on the desk? Do they have to go get it? Those are some things that you need to think about how that routine is going to be carried out. Next, another transition is passing out materials or supplies. For me, I teach math, and sometimes we use our interactive notebooks, and sometimes we use crayons, matte pencils. We also will sometimes use crayons, glue sticks. How do you want those things to be passed out? Is it one person? Is two people? How do you want that done? So for me, when I plan those out, I normally have two people. Everybody else has to wait. So then if the children are waiting, what are the children doing while they're waiting for supplies to be passed out? So those are things that have to be well thought out, because normally I start passing out my materials before the activity, before the interactive notebooks has been completed. Because the kids are finishing up their work, my other people that have finished, they are passing it out so it can be a smooth transition. That's my procedure for that. And I found that worked, especially for children who cannot sit idle very long. Another one is transitions to restroom, lunch, small group, dismissal, etc. I touched on small group. Restroom transitions are very, very tricky. So if you are a first year teacher and you're saying, well, I've never had a classroom, this is my first year, and you may not have liked the transition that when you did your student teacher with that teacher, and you want to make your own. What I highly recommend is that you look at other teachers' transitions or talk to other teachers or how their students transition, because hallway behavior is a big deal. Some of our students, some teachers may walk down the hallway have their students walk down the hallway with their arms folded. Some teachers may have their students put their hands in their pockets. I'm not an arm fold type of teacher, but I will make my students put their hands in their pockets so they're not touching people. And I know you probably say, well, you teach 5th grade. Well, it doesn't matter. I have a lot of kids that are touchy-feely, and they do things and they play. Also, when you're transitioning, you need to figure out how you're going to walk with your students. There are some teachers that I know, they lead their line. So how do you know what's going on in the back of your line if you're at the front of the line? I help teachers with their transitions. So I tell teachers, yes, you start out at the front of the line, but as the students are walking, you move to the middle and then eventually to the back. When I walk my students anywhere, I'm always at the back of the line because it gives me the vision to see what they're doing. And then if I have to move up to the middle of the line, I'll go ahead and do so. But I'm never at the front of the line. So you need to be thinking about those things. Where am I going to be, or where you're going to be when your students are transitioned. The next one is distributing, picking up work. Also, that is an issue because my students, a lot of them want to give me work. But my procedure is it must go into the homework or classwork basket. I have 2 baskets, one for homework, one for classwork. And I tell my students, hey, if you give it to me, it's 100%, I'm 100% sure that it's going to get lost. So that's what I do with my picking up homework. That's a little tip if you would like to use that. But I don't allow children to turn into work to me. When the bell rings, now this is for middle and high school. What do you do when the bell rings? Do you let your kids just make a mad dash for the door? That was me in middle school. In my first year of middle school, I had to learn to make my students stay until I release them. They don't get up and run to the door when it's time to go. So you have to establish those routines and that procedure, which is how it's done. The bell does not release the students. The bell is, you hear it and you wait for the teacher to give you directions and when to be released. And the last one is end of the day preparing for dismissal. Now this is huge in the lower grades in elementary school. How do you want your students to dismiss at the end of the day? Because for me, my 5th graders, a lot of them, they go and pick up their younger students. And what do you want those, their younger siblings, what do you want the older siblings to do? Do they wait at the door? Can they come in the classroom? Those routines and procedures have to be established because what happens, and I'm going to tell you about my first year teaching, I was working at a school here in Houston, and one of my little first graders hitchhiked a ride home. And luckily the man brought him back to the school. This is a true story, and I tell it all the time. But the school didn't have any routines and procedures for how kids went to the restroom. But you know, they got one after that. So your end of the day dismissal is very critical and crucial. And you can allow the kids to basically take the reins on dismissal, because I've known kids that have gone missing K through 2, especially in kinder and first grade, because a lot of them don't know their parents' addresses. Parents are looking for them. We've had kids get lost. So you want to think about in detail how you want your dismissal to go. I hope you enjoyed this video today. So tell me in the comment section below, what are some procedures that you're going to have for your routines in your classroom this year? And don't forget to hit that button to like or subscribe to my YouTube channel so you can get alerts when I upload new videos to my YouTube channel. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you all in the next video.